For those that are interested, I will be doing a one-to-one course on how to contact the Quarim. Although I've mentioned quite a lot of methods in this video, there are many other methods that you have to employ to make sure that you can contact your Quarim. If you are interested in learning this technique, contact me at demonfish1yahoo.com. Thank you for listening. Namaste and welcome to the channel. Today's program is about contacting the Quarim. The Quarim is a spiritual double of a human. It's seen as an inherent part of the individual or a complementary entity that exists in a parallel universe or dimension, which is known as the Kaf. The Kaf, of course, surrounds our Earth. It is allegedly where the jinn and the entities live and come from. The Quarim is connected to every human being, and this included the Prophet Muhammad. However, he stated that his Quarim had been subdued and guided towards righteousness. This is found in Sahih Muslim 2814. However, it suggests that the Quarim can be tamed through spiritual discipline. On saying this, there are other spiritual practitioners that state that the Quarim can never be tamed. In Arabic and Islamic law, the Quarim is known as a timeless truth teller. It usually emerges into one's consciousness as a whisper that doesn't really speak to your mind. It speaks to your soul or your subconscious if you require. Regardless of your opinion, whether it's soul or subconscious, this program invites you to be able to hear that whisper and awaken the transformative power that has always resided within you. To understand the nature of the Quarim, I will introduce a method of contacting it inspired by the techniques of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Blavatsky is quite an enigma. Her teachings are rooted in ancient Eastern wisdom and something that she called universal knowledge. This universal knowledge aligns very closely with Masonic tradition. Moreover, her grandfather, with whom she spent most of her youth, was a Freemason. And part of her youthful development was spending a lot of time in her grandfather's extensive library, which was dedicated to Masonic literature and the occult. However, in the 21st century, Blavatsky's teachings still continue to resonate, and they offer profound insights into the human spirit. And also, a lot of techniques that she promotes really aid people connect with the infinite realms. I want you to understand that this program is more than just philosophy. It is a call to action. It's an invitation for you to pause, listen, and rediscover the Quarim within you. The Quarim remains unaltered. It's been there for maybe hundreds of years. And it will always be unaltered. It's if you wish, it's the eternal witness. So, despite the darkness and the distractions and the chaos of the external world, the Quarim is your link to something which is eternal. This program is not just about Blavatsky's inspirational quotes. I'm offering you the tool to help you transform your everyday challenges and advance spiritually. This is done by engaging with the Quarim. For example, when people are talking about the inner voice, the only inner voice it can be is the Quarim. The Quarim is used all the time by occultists. For example, reading the tarot. Once one can tune in to the Quarim, it can actually tell you what the tarot cards mean in relation to the other person. You can also use it for cold reading. You can use the Quarim to get information from somebody sat in front of you. So when you see spiritualists and occultists working, generally speaking, they are using the Quarim. However, how did Blavatsky discover the Quarim? Obviously, she traveled all over the world, but how she discovered it herself was quite monumental. She describes it as thus: I sat beneath an ancient tree, its gnarled bark pressing against my back. When I first felt it, not a question in words, but a presence, a pulse. Who am I really? It wasn't a scream or a whisper, but something deeper, a sensation like wind brushing your skin, or an echo, or a melody. A melody you don't remember hearing, but instinctively know. So what can we surmise from that information? Well, Blavatsky is talking about silence. So what is the role of stillness in contacting the Quarim? One contacts the Quarim by using stillness and a meditative state. One has to silence the external noise. This is paramount in unveiling the Quarim. You also have to remain unwavering in the face of overwhelming urges to retreat or run when confronted by this force beyond yourself. Through meditation, what happens is the thoughts cease to control us and they drift apart like clouds or they disappear like fish. It's only when the mind has hit this stage that this allows the Quarin to awaken, and it gives you the opportunity to contact the eternal self. Blavatsky stated, true silence does not live outside us, it resides within us, a sanctuary that exists in all moments. It is this tranquility in the midst of chaos, a space unaffected by external disorder. Reaching this space is not easy. Many people will become impatient, they have discomfort and doubt. But this is all designed to keep the seeker from connecting with the Quarin. However, perseverance will teach you that silence is not something to be sought after, but in reality it's a constant presence. It's the core of our being. It's our essence that requires no words to shine through. Blavatsky, she speaks about 3 stages of transformation. She also states that these stages require different techniques, but each stage leads to a deeper self-discovery. One has to remember that when one is entering this meditation, that these are not destinations, but they're actually thresholds of transformation. The first stage is conquering ignorance. You have to get your mind into a position where you reject everything superficial. You reject a life dictated by appearance, possessions, and external validation. Interestingly, Blavatsky, she described comfort, feeling comfortable, feeling materialistic, as a prison built on borrowed ideas and expectations. Only when the voice within questions this comfort and materialism does the path to higher self begin. Rejecting these illusions leads to a freedom not tied to material wealth, but to the infinite, the ever-present state be in. There's 3 stages that Blavatsky speaks about, aligns with the concept of the nafs found in Islam. The nafs, if you wish, is the ego self. It represents our human desires and instincts. There are 3 main stages of the nafs. I apologize if my Arabic is fairly useless. We have naf al-lawamana, which is the self-reproaching soul, aware of its sins and seeking to reform. Then we have the naf al-mutma'inna, the peaceful soul which has overcome its lower desires. I may add that Sufi practitioners focus heavily on purifying the nafs to attain higher states of consciousness. Once you understand that these stages need to be accomplished, you'll understand that the main key is to relinquish the ego through silence. Now, interestingly, Blavatsky gives some fairly good advice about this. She said, this is not about seeking definitive answers, but about demanding falsehoods. Each truth revealed feels less like a gain and more like a letting go. Realistically, the ego is very much the jailer. The more you are connected with the ego, the less likely you're going to be spiritual. You know, for example, if we say look at narcissists, they're not very spiritual people. Or if we look at sociopaths, they're not very spiritual people because they're very hooked into materialism and control. Whereas people who are not hooked into materialism and control tend to be more otherworldly. Now we have to remember that when we go into silence, we are dealing with a realm. We're going to sort of like understand another quote by Blavatskaya when she's talking about listening to the internal voice, which is in fact the final stage of the meditation. She describes this as breaking the cages we've built and letting the truth of who we are finally sing. You have to understand that within this silence, one encounters what is called the unstruck sound. It's a silence that speaks without vibration. This resonance arises from the deepest part of our being. It's prudent to remember the Quarin cannot be heard through the ears, but it's experienced through the soul. To help understand this, Blavatsky gives a quote from her Masonic grandfather. This is the quote given by Blavatskaya's Masonic grandfather. It's a kind of a metaphor, but it really helps with understanding the mindset that you need when trying to contact the Quarin. A golden bird was imprisoned within a crystal cage. From inside it could see the sky, the mountains, the drifting clouds, yet it never dared to fly, fearing the cage might shatter. One day, consumed by longing, it began to sing, a song so pure that the crystal dissolved, freeing the bird to soar. What do we understand from the metaphor? Well, essentially, one must experience this soundless language, the eternal hum of existence, the whisper of the Quarin. It's at this stage, also that Blavatsky describes encountering the destructor, an entity mirroring the Islamic concept of shayateen. The shayateen, for those who do not know, is a demonic being who whispers evil suggestions into our hearts. This can be read in Surah Az-Nas 114:4-5. Confronting the shayateen. Meeting the shayateen is not facing an external force, but it's confronting an internal adversary. This entity drags shadows from the depths of the mind. It whispers insidious doubts. It urges surrendering to its requests. However, the shaitan's power only exists if one submits. When one is meditating, the seeker must listen for the faint but steady inner voice, which is guiding them forward. One has to remember that the function of the shayateen is not to halt progress, but it's to catalyze growth. Unfortunately, without fire, there is no purification. Just as gold must endure intense heat to become pure, so too must the soul face trials to evolve. The essence of meditative wisdom. Meditation is not about finding truth, but it's to do with ceasing to project ego-driven illusions. An untrained mind is like a restless river. It floods any moment of quiet with noise, judgments, comparisons, and endless chatter. However, through meditation, we strip away these distractions, and it reveals reality as it is. It's interesting that the Hindus class reality as illusion, and now with quantum physics is suggesting that we live in a simulation, i.e., an illusion. We will finish the program by understanding one of Blavatsky's exercises. This is what she recommends for people to start to meditate. She suggests that you gaze at a flower for 10 minutes without naming it, analyzing it, or comparing it to anything. Continue until it ceases to be just a flower. See it as an intricate universe of colors, textures, and movement. Recognize that it does not need to be anything more than itself. In that moment, understand that pure perception is not about observing the world. It's also mirror reflecting who you are when the ego dissolves. For those that are interested, I will be doing a one-to-one course on how to contact the Quarim. Although I've mentioned quite a lot of methods in this video, there are many other methods that you have to employ to make sure that you can contact your Quarim. If you are interested in learning this technique, contact me at demonfish1yahoo.com. Thank you for listening.